Hello, how's it going? Let me just pop up chat. Pop out chat. There we go. Into chat. How do I? Cool. Um, just waiting for everyone to enter the room. Hope you're going well, MK. My dude. We'll just wait until some more people join, just so no one misses out. How's your day been anyway, man? Been alright? Just see who else is in the chat. Oh, no. Well, I guess we can start, um, and then I'll just go. Yeah, I'll just go for I'll go back over it if anyone has any questions or anything. But mostly these videos will be added to a playlist under my YouTube. Um, but yeah, can you hear my voice clearly and everything? I also figured out why there was a bit of delay as well. All right, just let me know when you're there, and I'll start. So the stream will be pretty short one, about 30 minutes. I'll be doing a 30-minute stream every day, probably around 5 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week, and it'll pretty much just cover where we're at in terms of Rune, where we're at in terms of BTC, my thoughts, and we'll pretty much go over any questions that anyone has in the chat, and I'll also provide some occasional insight on how I do my trading, and basically just go through um, everything that that encompasses uh, like trading in general as a whole, even mindset, psychology, accumulated knowledge over the past couple of years of trading, pretty much everything. And yeah, so it'd be awesome to have you guys, come and join the chat, ask some questions, just even if you want to stop by and just say hello, that would mean a lot to me also. So starting with Rune, I was looking um, earlier today and I noticed that we've actually had a bit of a crossover, which is extremely bullish, right? And the reason why I say it's bullish is if you zoom out and you go back in the past, I'm not usually all for one for like EMA crossovers and that, as they can usually lead to traps, but generally on a higher time frame with something like this, you can clearly see that every move that has crossed over with a 50 and 200, so you got the 50 in the Bollinger Band and you got the 200 EMA, you've seen an exponential increase. So generally we get an increase of about around here we got about 160% from this area crossover right here, and so right here we got a bit of a around 100% increase. Um, and right here, we got about 85% increase. And right here, when it crossed over, so if we, where is it? So there, so we crossed probably crossed over way down here, and honestly, we were bouncing off the EMA for quite a while because, well, America was printing money and everything was pumping for a good while. But yeah, so every time in the past we've had those crossovers, we've gotten a bit of a rally, and that's why I suspect whales are currently accumulating Bitcoin. Now, I originally thought this um, pennant here was bearish, mostly because price action moved down into it, which generally indicates a continuation to the downside. But it seems that Rune has retested the same area multiple times. You got, um, one, two, three, four. So overall, within this entire area, we've had like four tests, and that's mostly due to the fact that there's some positive news that came about, I think, last week. Um, so I think what was that, either the CPI or the inflation rate, the inflation wasn't as high, um, and therefore it kind of reflected the change, reflected the results in the market, and we saw a little bit of a rally because of it. It did seem really trapped, like there was a lot of traps, um, but yeah, overall, I'm seeing probably a move up higher with this pennant. Uh, if we do close above the upper trend line, which is about 2.765, um, maybe higher, anywhere above this trend line, we'll probably see another leg up to this supply area slash order block area, and then we'll probably hit all of these vector zones where the market maker has stepped in and driven price down um, in the past. So it will pick up all this liquidity, all of this supply, all this the order block will probably get rejected and come back and test the 50. So the 50 will come up here, and we have a look at the past, and we'll see what it's initially done to come back and back test it. Like our most recent um, would have to be, so right here. We come back, we pump out of the zone, we come back and retest it, and then we come and basically fill all of the vectors on this side, so left side of the chart, and we do actually bounce off the 50. And when we see it bounce for the last time, it doesn't make a new high, and it also breaks the 50, and that pretty much indicates a correction of sorts. We come back up, retest, uh, trap the longs again, break down, liquidate the longs, then trap the shorts and go higher. So yeah, it's you can look at this on the lower time frame, but we actually made a crossover quite some time ago on like the 2 hour and stuff. Um, where is it? No, was it 3 hour or 4 hour? So yeah, the 50 on the 4 hour, we actually crossed over and we've been bouncing. Um, the 50 has been bouncing off the 200, and it's acting as support ever since we got above it. So the more we kind of consolidate above the EMAs, the more it kind of indicates that we're going to test the 800, and pick up all of the vectors on the left hand side, which is what it did before. Um, does this mean that it's overall bullish? Anything can really happen. Like, there is a first for everything. We could essentially fake out to the upside on the 6 hour, which we haven't done before, but we could still probably do it, maybe. Um, but yeah, I'm just seeing if we can close above this line, I'm thinking we do leg up to at least the 800 minimum. Using this as resistance, probably the daily high in the past around, what was it, the 21st? I can see the daily high or the weekly high um, being a type of resistance, definitely. Um, but yeah, that's just my thoughts on where I think um, Rune is headed. Again, yesterday I kind of felt like we should have gotten lower prices, and mostly because um, well, the 200 is a great area to bounce from, and an even better area to accumulate from. Mostly because of all the liquidity from basically where we are all the way down, and it would make sense to trap the shorts, longs, liquidate the longs, um, and then accumulate positions here and then pump out of the zone to the upside. Now, I don't really understand why um, like whales would be accumulating in this area. It doesn't really make too much sense based on the post that I did see. Um, it makes more sense for whales to accumulate closer to the 200 or the weekly low, which I'm sure some probably did, but yeah. So if we do kind of break down and we do drop down here, I would be looking at, at least 2.58. If not, we come down, pick up, hit this buy order block, and 2.54, I'd say, around that area. Yeah. So prediction for today, I'd say as a minor correction, either down to the 2.74 or we come back in at 2.71. Um, However, if we do close in 50 minutes, if we do close above this upper trend line, I do see us legging up to at least the market 4, which is around here. So that's kind of what I think. Mostly just it's really bullish, and it does, as I said before, it does stem from this crossover, the 50 and the 200. And as I said previously, um, every time that we've had a crossover for the 50 and the 200, we've pumped like 80 to 200%, anywhere between. You come back here, again, crossover, pumped. Crossover here, pumped. Uh, and we could probably go drop down on smaller time frames and have a look there, and nope, higher time frames then, maybe 10 hours. Oh, okay. So when it first rallied, the crossover happened down here, and then it was a huge expansion up, and yeah. So generally, you'll see these developments happen on lower time frames, and the more it happens, of like a certain pattern happens on the lower time frame, the more it's reflected in the higher time frames. So if you're seeing it on the 6 hour, chances are it's probably working its way towards um, the 10 hour crossover, and that is the big crossover, right? That's like almost half the day daily. So yeah, but Rune is just really wanting to get above this 200. Um, it really does. Like you can see how many times it's tried. One, two, three. Now we're on our fourth attempt. So yeah, yeah. That's pretty much Rune. Any other questions? Um, what's this? Let's see. Yeah. So that there is the basically the pennant measurement. So you take the bottom from the top or the top from the bottom, so the first touch of either, and you pretty much measure it, and you bring it out to the point of breakout, which is about here where it's broken out, and it's come back for a retest. And then you put your order block in. So, okay, well, where's all the liquidity on the left-hand side of the thing? Is it a black candle? Yes, it's a dark candle. It's a dark candle. All the liquidity's in this zone. It's a huge area of resistance, as you can see. It's been rejected quite a few times. Well, once, sorry, you're here and here. Um, and yeah, you pretty much say, okay, well, if it does close here and we see a sign of it moving up, right? I will scale my stop loss based on certain zones, like the daily high, the market base. So we scale it below it, we pump up to here, we scale it below it, and then potentially up to the weekly high. And then we could probably just cut our trade, right? And then we could see a pullback. So we can, see a pullback here, comes back down into zone. We can take a new entry, and we can build our entry. So we can basically take a new long and just like kind of like it, and it usually develops, as you can see how it develops, right? It pumps, pulls back about 70, around 65 to 75%, comes back into zone, just drops a little bit underneath the 50, um, hits the weekly low, so right here, pumps back up, breaks, makes a new higher high, then finally breaks above the 50, breaks below it, comes in back above it, and every time you see this 50 get broken, and then obviously price action drops below it, but doesn't make a new low every single time. Essentially, it just indicates that, well, there's probably going to be an expansion to the upside, mostly because it just wants to keep making higher lows, and essentially, obviously, the higher highs, sorry, the lower highs aren't nearly as low. So we're basically forming a, a pennant. And generally speaking, like with technical analysis, this would technically be a bearish pennant, just because of where price came from, but it's just not giving up this zone. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a bullish pennant, but again, if we break below this, I'd be accumulating your positions at about um, the 200 zone. So anywhere in this area, the bottom of the pennant is where I'd essentially be accumulating the position. So we closed on the 4 hour, we closed above the upper trend line. Um, so yeah, well, hopefully that goes to plan. But yeah, that's those are my thoughts. I did think again, I did think originally we're coming all the way down into this zone here, but yeah, this is kind of making me feel like we might be seeing higher prices soon. So yeah. I'm seeing, so after the 10 hour, its target is 52, or is it Rune or BTC? It's Rune BTC. So for some reason, whales are accumulating Rune BTC, um, and they're accumulating it within this zone. No idea why. It's a terrible zone to accumulate it because it's our area of resistance. But it begs the question: if they're accumulating it in this zone, um, and it keeps coming back to test this exact zone, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times it's entered this zone. So this zone's getting weaker every time we either get to the zone and we test it or we break through it. It's getting weaker. So there's less orders being stacked up in this zone, meaning that it's easier to push out of this zone. And if I actually grab the where is it? The volume, fixed volume profile. We come here to here. Okay, we can see that the point of control is down here. The value high is up here, so it's above the value high. Let's move this back. Okay, so around up here is the higher time frame value high. Alright. Which, yeah, should pretty much bring us up to this area, close to the 800. Yeah, but anyway. Alright, so I'll just talk about I'll talk about Bitcoin. Let's grab a new, let's just clean that up. So Bitcoin's having different issues. Sorry, just to illustrate the reason why Rune is so bullish, right, is because we've actually broken down and we've made a new low um, around this region. So we're coming up on picking up these zones, and I feel personally, which actually goes into the Rune being bullish narrative, um, that is our potential, um, based on this head and shoulders. So that this has got a head and shoulders here. This is the potential zone for BTC dominance to drop to. Now, if that happens, then you will see a massive breakout to the upside for Rune. Um, but that is why we're seeing Rune constantly test that area, wanting to break out. Um, but yeah, so if we get a little bit of a retrace, we could see Rune correct, and then people will start accumulating Rune at um, the 200 around here, and in which case it would obviously continue upwards because we've been above the 200 for a good amount of time. So, you know, and this does reflect back on higher time frames. So, say like the weekly or like the daily, if we, you know, uh, basically close around this region on that time frame, we would be seeing higher prices as well. But yeah, so we've been rejected by the 200 a few times in the past couple of days. Can come see us come down maybe to the M2, confirm as support, and then what we know about the market is that, you know, you come back down in the M2, you're likely to see M4. So we'd be breaking above this area too, which would also go back into the Rune narrative as well. But yeah, BTC is not letting up either. It's testing quite a few times in an upwards trend. Um, yeah. And honestly, if we break above the 200 and we come down, so we, you know, come down, we break above the 200, we hit M4, we come back down, back test that, break up to M5. We use, you know, we basically use that as resistance. We come up, wick up, clear up this liquidity. We can see a pretty significant retracement to move back down into this zone and then continue up, creating a new a higher low, basically. And which case you could probably take the trend line and map this out from here to here to here, and then we would come up for this liquidity here, which is typical of the market maker since it likes to do double tops in the same area, um, like here, with a large retracement back down to the base. So we're seeing this large retracement down close to the base, and then we pump out a zone, pretty much making new highs. And this can still technically be bearish on the macro time frame, but mostly because, well, again, this reflects back in higher time frames, and there's less candles on higher time frames. So you know, you go to the daily or something like that, and you see that this is actually bearish, right? This is like a bearish channel forming. Um, it is really choppy, and that's mostly thanks to the news. Um, but yeah, so we can literally consolidate upwards above the 50. If we do close above this 50, which is about 23,200, we could see, you know, a continuation to the upside as well for a test of the top of the Bollinger Band, and then a pullback, and then a pump um, past the Bollinger Band. But yeah, I would say it's more bullish than it's been like around here. Um, you know, you've got like for Rune, it's where is it? Um, daily Rune, we know once it gets back into the Bollinger Bands, there's a good chance in a pump. Say right here, we've gotten back in here, we've pumped. You know, we've come into the zone, pumped. Pretty much, yeah. Our higher time frame Rune loves this 50. And it's currently sitting in here, and you can see what the Bollinger Bands are doing, right? So every time you see them squeeze, you can see an expansion. You see it squeeze in once we're in it, and it starts to like kind of narrow. You will see an expansion in the direction price action is moving. So in this case, we see an expansion. We're pushing up into it. Bollinger Band is like basically getting more narrow and narrow, and then you'll probably see an expansion to the upside to sweep up all the liquidity. But yeah. One sec, I'll delete that. Remove, remove. Yeah, yeah, I've already taken care of that. Um, I will make you a moderator though, MK. Just because I can't always look at the chat because I don't have two monitors yet. I've only got one monitor. What's your user? What's your email address? Actually, I think I can just go to your channel. There we go. Save. Yeah, I just made you a. Yeah, all good. I made you a moderator, so if I'm not locking and you see spam, just delete it for me if that's okay. Okay, sweet. All right. So essentially, yeah, that's what I see for BTC. I see one more rally up, test the top of the Bollinger, we drop back down, pick up the rest of the liquidity, we pump back out of the zone to pick up at least maybe 50% before we come and back test the bottom of the Bollinger Band. In the meantime, if we see that and we continue to see BTC dominance drop um, down to this target, then we'll see Rune just pump like crazy basically. It'll just keep going. Um, and I mean like when it does expand out, it expands out. Like it just breaks it decisively. Um, but we'll probably see like one attempt. So we'll see one attempt to break, we'll retrace, and then we'll see that boom expansion, probably explosion to the upside. Um, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. Use this as a level of resistance right here, which is basically the top of the Bollinger Band. So let me just move that down a fraction. There we go. So that'd be around the weekly high, which is where I'd be cutting my trade. And then I'd be doing a retrace, and then I'd be, looking at higher prices, obviously, if we, stay above the 50 on this time frame. Sweet. Cheers, man. So I will, since I've basically covered Rune and BTC, and I mean, there's a lot more that I want to talk about, but I'll probably go over it in the span of like the next week, and I'll provide more context to what I'm talking about. I'm just trying to get used to the stream environment. I'm very new to it. Actually a little bit nervous to be honest, but that's okay. Um, so we will, I'll pretty much cover exactly where the best times to trade are, depending on whether you're a scalper, day trader, positional trader, swing trader. I do prefer lower time frames like the hourly. for day trading, and then obviously anywhere between 1 minute to 5 minute for scalping. And if you are scalping, then you can use you can use high leverage with low margin. If you're doing day trading, you can do low margin with high leverage. Sorry, low margin. Sorry, low leverage with high margin. And it's less risky, and you can absorb more moves. Basically, if it does go against you, you can accumulate your position in the opposite direction. Um, and basically look to go long as price moves further down, which is what the market maker essentially does. But yeah, so that's just pretty much what I want to talk about. Um, but yeah, so I'll just quickly go over maybe a couple things for the the scalping. So there's a few ways that you can really play it. Um, with scalping, knowing where the liquidity is first of all. So having something like bookmap and stuff will be highly useful. So if you see a zone of liquidity, so you see price pumping up, but you see a zone of liquidity to the bottom, generally price will move away from the liquidity to force orders, basically to force traders to move their entries to orders up closer to where price action is, because a lot like the market maker knows that there's a lot of FOMO and a lot of people that think that because price won't probably move back into that zone if it's pumping away from it, right? So a lot of people move their orders up higher. Price comes in, fills the orders, moves up in their favor by maybe like a couple percent, and then reverses back down and hits the original zone where all the orders were. So other people that didn't move their orders get their orders filled, and the people that did put their orders down all the way up here probably got liquidated because they're over leveraged. Um, but yeah, so and then once you see all of this demand get picked up, it just pumps right out of the zone. So it just goes straight up essentially. Um, but yeah, so Bookmap or Trading Light are really, really crucial tools to have when trading on the lower time frames. I'd say it's absolutely crucial actually. Um, but you can see if you're wanting to trade with just the vectors and stuff, you can basically see after a huge retrace, say prices drop below the EMA, and you see that it's back tested the EMA multiple times. Um, you generally get some form of a what we call like a W formation, um, where it comes down, makes a new low, comes back up, breaks, makes a new high, comes back down, doesn't quite reach the previous low, and then we just pump right out of the zone. So we always come back. We can sometimes come back and do a little bit of a back test, and then we just pump straight out of the zone. So this is called like a W formation. Um, and likewise, we got M formations. So this would be reflected on the higher time frame, but you've got your M formation here where you see it makes a high. All of the other highs aren't quite as high. We break below I think this is the 800. And we come down, we backtest, we break above, we basically trap the shorts, trap the longs, liquidate the longs, trap the shorts, move up. Then we trap the longs again, and then we decisively move down and liquidate everything from like probably like 7x onwards all the way up to 100x. And yeah, so we move all the way down decisively. But once you see the second peak form, the 1 and 2, and you see a back test of the 800 on the 1 minute time frame, you can pretty much take a short and you can accumulate your position from here. Or if you've already got the upper trend line, you can see that it's rejecting off it, then you could probably take a quick short. Really, when it comes to scalping, because you're using high leverage, you don't need to stay in the trade for very long. You just want to be looking at, I don't know, anywhere between 10 to 20% with high leverage and low margin. And then obviously if price, say you see it break below, right, and you don't cut your trade and you see it move back against you, Well, this is where you can say it moves away from the 800, you can actually add to your position. So you can add another, X amount of money to your position, maybe 1 to 1, where you drag your entry up halfway, and that way when it moves back into zone, you basically you benefit at least 50% more than you would have otherwise benefited had you not added to your position, and it went your way. So another really cool thing, if it does go your way, right, and you've gotten a really great entry, but you're not sure when to take it, so you want to switch your scalp to maybe a day trade, for example. So you see it backtest the 800, um, and it gets rejected multiple times. You're like, okay, great. Let's add another 1 to 1. So let's like add another, say you have like 200, right? You add another 200 to it, and you've essentially, yes, you've moved your entry a bit, but you've got a confirmation add-on entry. So you're adding basically more margin, to your entry with the already high leverage, but it's a confirmed entry. So essentially, you're benefiting rather than benefiting from this small move, you're benefiting from all of this move down here. And when I say like you would be watching the EMAs, so you'd be watching the back test of the 200, the back test of the 50, the back test of the 800, and you'd be moving your stop loss down. So say we get rejected by the 200, you'd be moving your stop loss to just above this. Say you're taking a short, you'd be moving it just above the 200, and you would be pretty much following it all the way down. So you move it down here again, and you see a back test here, the 200, you'd be moving it down here. And when you see it decisively break upwards, your stop loss hits and you benefit from that entire move. And that's pretty much how you expose yourself without panicking. So you're managing your emotions really well because you're managing your trade really well. Um, but yeah, so another thing too, so if you're wanting to trade even higher leverage, but small, like really small margin, well, you can look at the small time frame for these W's. So you can see a W formation here where it breaks the um, we've got a huge retrace, so we've moved back into zone. We've tapped this, we've mitigated this area of liquidity twice. Um, and then we've seen it decisively break above here, consolidate, come in, come back and back test. Your entry would be around here the moment we break back above the 200. And you can pretty much either accumulate it every time that we bounce off the 50. We can accumulate it every time it bounces off the 200. Now, a great short would be when we drop below the 200, we come and back test, and if we get rejected by the 50 or the 200, then we would add to our short position. So yeah, so there's a lot of ways that you can play it. Generally, I go from a scalp, and if it's going my way and I'm adding to the position and I'm managing the trade by trailing my stop loss really well, I'll turn it into a day trade. So I'll essentially manage the trade differently, um, as to how I would manage it to start off with. So I start off with a scalp using a low time frame, and if it's going my way and I'm adding to the position, then I would turn it into a day trade, and it would become an hourly time frame trade. In which case I would be looking at anywhere between 20% to 50%, maybe more. But yeah, so that's pretty much how I do my trades and stuff. The next stream will be tomorrow at about 3 p.m. AEST. I'm looking at accumulating my longs at the moment. Um, Obviously considering like got to watch the news on Forex Factory. So any new updates on news that drops, pretty crucial that we pay attention to that as well. And if these streams do really well, I'm thinking we can all, I can do an actual trades, so I can do trade setups, rather than talk about where BTC and Rune is headed. I can talk about when I'm looking to take an entry or when I'm looking to take an exit, where I'm looking to trail my stop loss or break even, um, and essentially you guys can just like watch me trade, or how I usually trade. But that won't be until I can see like there's some interest in the channel and stuff. So, do you have any questions at all? That would be not a good close. Bearish engulfing. Picked up this liquidity move back into zone. Back testing the bottom. Hmm. We'll see what happens here. I'll watch very closely. Depends on what BTC does, to be honest. Can BTC stay above the 50? Do we see an expansion up with the green vector candle? That would be really cool to see on the daily. Yeah. Um, so if you do like the content, and you do want to see more of this stream, and obviously I'll become a lot more confident every time that I stream, and I'll do my best to showcase, like to express my thoughts on where the market is, and also provide some cool tips on how I trade, or how to manage your trade, as well as psychology, the psychology behind trades and stuff. Um, Please like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. Also, I really appreciate you dropping by and checking out my content. That also means a lot too. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys stopping by. Hope you all have a lovely day or night, and I'm looking forward to streaming again soon.